Hey guys, my name is Canaanite, and welcome to Chapter 2 of Rent a Vice by Natalia Theodorodou. So, I found this page under the stats menu, and it seems that with each choice we make, the stats get updated and basically tell you what kind of path you're going down. So, you're Mr. Tyron Oswald, a PI. Used to be married to Skylar Young, have a daughter together. Her name is Kracia, right? Things between you and your ex-spouse have been going very well right now. You have shared custody, need to pay 500 credits. That's a lot every month. Ooh. 69 noise percent idealist, 50-50 corrupt professional, 44% spontaneous, 50-50 broody lighthearted. I am very good at parenting and very charming. Not very good at fighting, it looks like, though. And I have literally no money. But yeah. And I have decent willpower, my addiction's low, and I am perfectly healthy. I doubt that somehow, but yeah, so let's get on into Chapter 2, and yeah. Chapter 2, The Case. In a hero's journey, this would be the call to action bit. Trigger warnings, mentions of addiction, mentions of self-harm, graphic descriptions of a deadly body, so if that bothers anyone. You have finally made it to your car, in one piece, more or less. After securing Kracia into the passenger seat, you switch on the engine. You catch a glimpse of your face in the rearview mirror. Your face looks hollow. Haunted. By what? By whom? No time to think about that now. You place your hands on the steering wheel and try to stop them trembling. Destination, Skylar's home, you say. Slowly the car pulls out of your parking spot and joins the traffic. Oh cool, it's a self-driving car. The steely gray silence of noiseless engines. Outside, you glimpse the droves of people heading to destinations you'll never see, to live through things you'll never experience. Their faces haunted by ghosts you'll never know. How much of life is simply that? That fighting against the unknowability of the world in its entirety, the unknowability of others, their desires, their experiences, what it is like to be them. Can you ever truly know anyone? Can you ever stop trying? The city is still damp with this morning's thunderstorm, its chrome surfaces glistening, its buildings towering over you on either side like mute sentinels of metal and concrete. You drive through it all in silence, your head still throbbing. Kracia keeps her eyes on the road ahead. Try to make her talk about something, I stay silent, don't even know how to talk to my own daughter. Do you like living with me, Kracia, I ask, or would you rather stay with your Zaza? Whew, well that's a little heavy stuff for getting right on the road, but I think I'm just gonna try to get her to talk about something. Are you looking forward to your recital tonight, you ask? Kracia shrugs. I don't know, she mumbles, I guess. You know you can talk to me about anything, right, honey? She doesn't turn to look at you. She keeps her eyes fixed on the road, her gaze indecipherable. Can I, Daddy? You don't speak again after that. Ooh, cold for a 5-year-old or however old she is, I don't remember. Skylar lives in one of the most densely populated areas of the city. It's not pretty, but the rent is still low enough to make it affordable, at least for someone working 2 jobs to make ends meet. You pitch in, of course, as much as you can. You're not surprised to find that there are no parking spaces in front of your ex-spouse's building. You have no choice. You take manual control of the car, switch on the warning lights, and double park. You exit the car and walk around to the other side to let your daughter out. Skylar is already waiting for you at the door. You're late, Tyron Z says. Well, you told me about this like an hour ago? But I'm sorry, I reply. I got caught up in something. I got a life too, you know. Better be honest. I got caught up in something. Care to elaborate, Skylar asks. Do you really want to know? You don't want to know. The less he knows, the better. Remember Jerry? I'm probably being too honest for my own good here, but remember Jerry? Z frowns. Is that fear creasing Zer forehead? Or anger? I don't want that guy near Kracia, Tyron. Neither do I. Promise me you'll take care of this, whatever this is? Fortunately, Z doesn't actually expect you to answer that. While you wait for Kracia to get her stuff from the back seat of the car, Skylar's dad appears at the doorway. He nods at you. Hey, Tyron, he mumbles. His expression is much more eloquent. He despises you, always has. Can you blame him? Yes? How are you doing, Larry? Of course, his name's Larry, you ask. Trying to sound friendly, not caring to sound friendly, as sincere friendly as anyone can be in my position. Might as well try to sound friendly. He grunts. He has no intention of talking to you. He's simply there to keep an eye on you. He waits for Kracia to walk up to the door, then envelops her in a hug. Did you have fun with your daddy, honey? He asks, but he ushers your daughter inside before you can catch the answer. Honey. He calls her honey too. Skylar notices you lingering. Everything okay, Tyron? You look at Zim for a moment without speaking. Is everything okay? Z approaches you. Z's obviously in a hurry, and yet Z takes the time to get closer to you. That's real concern on Zer's face. Then when you least expect it, Z reaches over and takes your hand in Zer's. Whew, my tongue's having trouble with all the Z sounds. I pull my hand back. I'm fine, I say. Let go. I squeeze her hand tight. I pull back. What are you doing? I ask coldly. Well, as I recall, I'm pretty sure I said I still loved them in the last chapter, so gotta stay in character here. No, I'm not okay, you continue. Z looks you in the eye, then Z gently lets your hand go. I gotta go, Tyron, Z says. I'm sorry, we'll talk later, okay? Do I ever get to, like, talk about my... Don't forget Kracia's recital tonight, okay? Skylar shouts... Oh. Don't forget Kracia's recital tonight, okay? Skylar shouts as you jump into your car. You'll be there, right? Z doesn't wait for an answer. Do I... No one ever lets me talk. Okay. Entering your office, you glance at... Sorry, I hit my hand there. Entering your office, you glance at the sign on the door engraved with your name. Mr. Tyron Oswald, P.I. Wait, sorry, let me try that again. Mr. Tyron Oswald, P.I. There we go. You trace the letters with the tips of your fingers, a little morning ritual of yours. You recall the day you decided to become a private investigator. It's fresh in your memory, as if it were yesterday. He's very young, the neighbor's son had been missing for a week, he died because police didn't find him in time. Teenager, neighbor's daughter, been missing for a month, police failed to find her, but a PI did, the person I love went missing. Z was never found. Let's go for the middle one here. The girl was found alive even after all this time. When the Seamus came knocking on the neighbor's door, her daughter standing next to him, scared but otherwise safe and sound. You saw them fall into each other's arms and sob, and then you saw the woman hug the PI. This stranger who was simply doing his job. That's when you knew you wanted this. The admiration this man received, the satisfaction on the man's face when the girl was reunited with her mother, the deep connection, or the money, it looks like. I want to go with deep connections this PI developed with his clients, not only because that's a much more human thing to go for, but also, I hate to think about this part logically, but I feel like this way I might have made some connections if I'm that close with all my clients, I might need later. It went far beyond a professional relationship. Even someone as young as you could see it. Now you know how rare this is. People are found dead far more often than they are found alive, if they are found at all. And the reward is hardly what you expected. Happy endings are not the norm in this genre. Ooh, breaking the fourth wall there. You make your way into the office and switch on the lights. Its familiar surroundings greet you, and it's like you're finally home. The office is sleek and professional. Perfect facade. The office is dark and dingy, cluttered with boxes and half-open file cabinets. The office is almost empty. The entire place as neutral as possible, as if it belonged to no one in particular. I feel like this guy probably keeps it empty and neutral as possible. Doesn't really show his cards too much. To anyone who isn't close to him anyways. It gives away nothing about you. That way you can be anyone you want. Before sitting at your desk, you perform the second ritual of your workday. I put on some old jazz. I like it retro like that. I light a cigarette. I fix myself a coffee. Let's go classic PI with this one. Let's put on some old jazz. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, hear that jazz going? We'll see if I'm actually not lazy enough to add jazz into this video later or not. Most of your clients like it too, the ones who don't find it too cliche, that is, well. Then there's a light knock on the door. A stunningly beautiful woman walks in. A handsome man walks in. A striking person walks in. We'll go for a handsome man. We'll change up the genre a little bit because I feel like it's usually a stunning, beautiful woman. As is the norm these days, the man's hollow discreetly pings you with his pronouns. Oh. That's nice. You try to pin down what is that makes him so handsome. His face, it's cherubic. Something in his eyes, dark, mysterious, hurt. His voice when he says, Mr. Oswald? He's simply one of the hottest people I've ever seen. I don't actually find him that attractive. I'm in love with my ex-spouse. I recognize that he's good looking, but it's not for me. Nah. Come in, you say, motioning towards this cream-colored chair across from you. He takes a seat, leaving his briefcase next to the chair. You are? You ask. John Still, he says. You study John for a moment, trying to decide what's the best way to approach this man would be. Keep it professional, make it personal, inspire confidence. Yeah, we'll keep it professional. That's how we've made it through all these years. Nice to meet you, Mr. Still, you say. Please, call me John, he says. As you wish. You sit upright in your chair. You wrap your fingers together. So, you say casually but seriously. What can I do for you? It's about my, friend, Robin Lemire. He says, Z disappeared 3 months ago. Your ears perk up at the way he describes him. He's not telling you everything. Friend, you ask? Just a friend? He pauses for a moment, looking you straight in the eye. You sense he's trying to decide whether he can trust you. He hasn't made up his mind yet. Clever. But what is it that's made him so cautious? Lover, he says after a long moment. Partner, however you want to call it. Another pause. We were not married though, so I don't have any legal recognition of my status in relation to Zim. Okay, you say. Have you gone to the police? That's always the first question you ask. It used to surprise you how little people trusted the police. It doesn't surprise you anymore. And for good reason. The police say Z's dead. They pronounced it a suicide. I was not expecting that, a suicide. What am I dealing with? I study his face. What am I dealing with here? I'm sorry for your loss. Look at him with pity, the poor thing's grasping at straws. Yeah. I think that's probably how I'd feel. You've seen it before, people coming to you, desperate for answers, for resolution. If only it were that simple. I'm afraid I cannot help you then, you say. He shifts in his chair. No, you don't understand, he says. They never identified the body they found. I'm not convinced that Robin is dead. In fact, I'm certain Z's not. You rub your forehead, press your fingers against your eyes until everything goes dark for a moment. Okay, you ask. Go on. Start at the beginning. He takes a folder out of his briefcase and passes it to you. There are pictures of a burnt car at the bottom of a cliff. The first ones were taken by drone, but the rest were clearly snapped by hand, closing up on every gory detail. The metal frame of the car has almost melted. Inside, a body so charred it's hard to believe it had ever been a person. There's also an autopsy report, mostly useless, and a photo of John's partner, a young person, looking straight at the camera. Z is not smiling. You vaguely remember the hollow news report on that incident, mentioned briefly between a cereal commercial and a VE plug. Why did it stick with you? John stares at the photo of the burnt car. Z had been missing for a week before they found the car. He fishes a cigarette from his pocket. His hand is trembling. He looks up at you. Oh, I'm sorry, he says. Can I smoke in here? I'd rather you didn't. Sure, I say, pushing an ashtray towards him. Can I have one too? You know what? He's in a stressful situation. We'll let him have it this one time. Thanks, he says. He lights the cigarette and takes a deep breath. A little concerned for him. His partner intrigues me. I hate to be methodical. Intrigues me more than the case itself. Okay, let's get to business. Let's get to business. Why do you think Robin is still alive? 3 days ago, I received this in the mail. From an unknown sender. He beams a scan of the mail with his hollow. It's a voucher for a free book from Rarebacks, my favorite website. He pauses. See? He points at the book's title. It's for The Missing Voice by Jean-Paul Sartre. So? He smiles. There is no such book. So you think this is a message from Robin? He nods. I spoke to the police detective that was in charge of the... He stumbles on the word. The case, he pronounces carefully. But he turned away from me. But he turned me away, said I was imagining things, suggested I might be losing my mind. You know a thing or two about that. Okay, you say. Okay. He places his cigarette on the ashtray. You think I'm crazy too. No, you say, I've seen a lot in my career so far to believe this is perfectly plausible. Okay, he says, his voice almost inaudible. I think there's more to know about Robin. Are you alright? It sounds like you and Robin had an interesting relationship. I'd like to hear a bit more about you. I think there was a lot more to know about Robin. Help me understand what Z is like. About a year ago, Robin got interested in virtual experience, John says. Z was into Rent-A-Vice? John gives a short, nervous laugh. God, Z hated that term. Z thought it made the whole thing sound simple, you know? Shallow. He takes another drag on a cigarette. You see, Robin was a social worker. Z always looked beneath the surface. So Z's interest in VE was professional. At first, yes. Z was assigned some cases, I don't know the details. He pauses. Then later, I think it got personal, John adds. You make a note to chase up the cases Robin may have been looking into. I presume Z got involved as a user? Do you know which club Z went to? No, but I know it was an underground one. None of the entry-level ones favored by beginners. Z used to say they were too vanilla. I see. He rubs his forehead, silent for a minute. I know this is hard. How did you feel about your partner's endeavors? What about you? Do you work? I know this is hard. Okay, to continue, I think. Let's, I think being empathetic is probably the right path here. Yes, I'm fine, he says. Thank you. Shall I go on? He nods. What was it like being with Robin? Tell me more about yourself. What do you do? Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to tell me? Oh, vague, but let's go for it. Well, I own a bookshop, John says. That explains how easily he decoded the message. If it is in fact from his partner, that is, and not a prank or mistake. Or something else entirely. A bookshop? I thought they'd gone extinct years ago, you say? I've even watched a Hollow doc about it. He smiles politely. I get that a lot, but there are a few left despite what the Hollow docs say. Mine is one of them. This interests me. He interests me. Maybe more than he should. What What is your favorite book, I ask. John appears pleasantly surprised by the question. Perhaps even a little too lighthearted considering the reason he's here. It's a play, actually, he says. It's called No Exit. You know it? Oh, I actually do know that one, I think. Jean-Paul Sartre, you say. Of course. Robin chose a non-existent book by John's favorite author. You close your eyes for a moment, then you quote, "Hell is other people." That's right, he says, now more solemn. It is. You carry on. Could you tell me a little bit more about your relationship, you ask? How are things between you and Robin before Z? You trail off. I mean, you rephrase. How are things between the two of you before the incident? John clears his throat. Not great, he says. Robin had been too absorbed in Zer work for some time, and Z spent way too much time with Zer VE friends. He pauses. I think Z was hooked on something, some kind of experience. I confronted Zim about it, but Z wouldn't admit it. Then it happened. He lowers his eyes, as if embarrassed. You blame yourself. He stares at you, his eyes shiny. Yes. I felt guilty for a long time. I thought I drove Zim away. Perhaps if I had been there, if I'd known more about what Z was going through, none of this would have happened. You nod. I know how this feels, you say. John keeps staring at you, his lips pressed together. You glance at your notes, then at him. Okay, you say, I think I have everything I need for now. So, he says, he puts out his cigarette. I guess this means you're taking the case. Should we discuss your payment? Payment, yes. You currently have 100 credits in total, and you have a big child support payment coming up at the end of the month, on top of all your debt. I don't have much, he continues, but I understand that your work is difficult and answers don't come for free. The case strikes a personal chord in me. I have to do it for free. I will only accept payment when I have solved the case. This is standard professional practice. I put on a charming smile. Ask for an advance of 600. I want to keep it professional. I mean, it does strike a personal chord, but I think it's fair to say I won't take payment until after I've solved it. I can't really afford to do it for free. I have a kid. I appreciate that, John says. He promises to recommend your business to his friends. After beaming you his contact details, he gets up to leave. He then pauses as if he's just remembered something. Before I go, he says, do you mind if I ask you something? He looks at you, his expression friendly but serious. How did you get this scar? He asks, pointing at the one that runs down the side of my face, on my wrist, on my neck. Nah, I want a face scar. That's gonna look cool. Let's go for that one. That can't be good for business, John adds. You laugh. You'd be surprised. You touch the scar on your face with the tips of your fingers. You're not laughing anymore. So what happened, he asks. I decide to tell the truth. This is kind of a gamble, given that I have no idea what the truth is, but... You take a deep breath and let it out slowly. John is waiting for you to go on. It was an accident, I say. Used to press my luck when I was younger. The case went sideways. Hooked on stuff. Got mixed up with some bad people. Owed money. I'm gonna say I used to press my luck a lot when I was younger. Maybe something I learned from. You had quite an eventful life then, John says, heading for the door. Quite. You smile. I'll be in touch as soon as I have news, you say. You wait for the sound of John's steps in the corridor to fade away before you call up Detective Whoopie-Ho on your hollow. Good morning, Torvald Whoopie-Ho, you say as soon as his face appears before you. Hey, if it isn't Tyron, my favorite PI. How are you doing? Did you see me on the news this morning? I did, yes. Quite the hero, aren't you? Ah, you flatter me. I was just doing my job. He pauses. So, he continues, what can I do for you? Does the name Robin Lemerck ring any bells? Another pause. Lemerck? Is that what you said? That's right, Robin Lemerck. Is that a missing persons case? You never said so. Was that a lucky guess? You disclose nothing. I mean, this guy may be somewhat trustworthy more than the other police, but let's play them close to the vest at first. No, it was clearly a suicide. I'm just trying to give the deceased relatives some closure, put their minds at ease. You pause. So I was wondering whether I could maybe take a look at your files, just a peek? Let me check, Torvald says, and types something into his computer. Hang on. That's strange. It appears the file has been misplaced. Is that so, you ask? How can an electronic file even be misplaced? Well, that's what it says here, Torvald's face hardens. Is that all? I'm rather busy here. No, that's all. Then you slap your forehead as if you've just remembered something. Oh, before you go, you say, do you remember any underground VE clubs? You know, the rent-a-vice places? Sure, vanilla hardcore stuff. Ooh, the latter. New habits for your good old self, Tyron? He winks at you. I laugh uncomfortably and glare at him and act like I didn't hear what he said. That's probably what I'd do. I'd probably laugh uncomfortably. Ah, you got me, you say. No, nothing like that. I'm asking for a friend. You wink back. He rubs his chin, pensive. Is he trying to remember, or is he trying to decide whether he should tell you? There's one on 34th and Central. I'd start there, he says finally. You note down the address. Got it. Perfect. Before he terminates the connection, Torvald looks at you through the hollow. He hesitates for a moment. Then he says, I wouldn't get too involved in that case if I were you, Tyron. It sounds like a loser to me. He hangs up before you have a chance to respond. And that is the end of the chapter. Okay. Got a new character in here, John. And we got Torvald up in here acting very suspicious. And we also seem to have a place to go that makes me think we're going to be very late to Kraysha's recital. But yeah, before we go, let's check out the stats real quick. Who are you? Still an idealist, not corrupt, which is good. Still pretty charming and good parenting. Not too much has changed. Pretty much the only thing that's changed is you have a visible scar on your face, and that's about it. But yeah, we'll check in on after the 3rd chapter and see how it's going. I think I don't know if I'm gonna buy the whole book or not. We'll see. I will play the 3rd chapter for another video, so I'll see you guys for that one. I don't know. My girlfriend Shannon actually likes this one, so maybe I'll continue. But seems like it's gonna be it's a novel-length book, so we'll see. But I'll see you guys in the next video, and yeah, bye.